Photographers. Photography is not just about earning money and having people look at you like you're some kind of god or some kind of, bigwig. Photography is more than that. Photography can take people on a journey which they never ever reach with any other medium. Now, photography for me has allowed me to become very thoughtful, very spontaneous, very good at kicking back and getting my head out of the game. And I think the more photographers can use photography for that rather than just as a tool to make money and have people bow down to them, then I think the better. And a few things have happened recently which have really brought home to me the kind of like importance of using photography for things other than earning money or having people look at you like you're some kind of genius. So today I just want to get into that. I want to re-hook us back to what photography can be and why it can be, and try and forget all that other bullshit. So without further ado, let's get the fuck into it. Hello, welcome back. I know I've done it again. I've been away forever. I said I'd try and do one every couple of weeks. It's about 6, maybe 7 weeks since I did the last one. I apologise to those 2 of you that watch this religiously. For my 2 long-standing subs, thank you. Big shout out to them. But life keeps getting in the way. And by life getting in the way, I mean life, as in earning a crust, being able to pay the bills, being able to go on holiday, being able to keep the wolf from the door. And over the last 20 years, photography has played a big part in my life, in allowing me to do that, either from being a photographer and earning money or from teaching photography and filmmaking and, using it as a tool to get by. A lot of things have happened recently. I don't want to bring the tone down or get us being melancholy, but just to recap, the last year has been pretty tough for me. As you know, if you watch this at all, I've got a real bad back. I've got degenerative disc disease, and periodically over years that's flared up, and I've had to have medicine, drugs, to kind of get me back on track. And last summer, the drugs I won't use the word drugs because YouTube will probably spin it. The pharmaceuticals I was using to fix the back stopped working. And it took the good old NHS nearly 5 months to get to the point where a pharmaceutical worked and stopped most of the back pain and allowed me to get back to some kind of normality. Turned out as well I could have had that drug for the last 20 years, but that's another thing for another day. But so the back end of last year was almost defunct. I think I did 1 podcast between the summer and Christmas, maybe 2. Wasn't able to work hardly. Then I returned to work January. Felt great, and then suddenly, don't know how, just before Easter, broke my foot, which again set me back, put me back on the settee. Yes, I could move around, I could do a bit of work on the laptop, but I couldn't really get around that much, although I did go to Rhodes on a holiday, as you know from the last podcast, and went around in a wheelchair trying to, be a photographer, and did actually have some success in that, as you'll see. I figured out that I didn't shoot as much, and the quality kind of went up a bit, or the hit rate certainly went up a bit. So in working in those parameters, it allowed me to come at it differently. But still, I've had the best part of a year where I've not really been myself. I've been quite ill. I've been quite fed up. I've been quite depressed is not the right word, because I wouldn't say it's depression. It's more frustration, because I'm a creative. I like to get out and do things. I like to work. I'm a hard worker. I'm a bit of a workaholic. Kirsty will tell you that. I don't like having nothing to do or not being able to do things. But then the pressure that comes with not working for so long builds other mental pressures within you. And I had such a long time off from my full-time day job, if you like, that when I went back to it, I felt like I'd lost the capacity to really do it to the quality I was doing it before. And so I made a big decision to stop doing that. So I'm currently without full-time work, if you like. I'm currently seeing what's out there. But in the interim, I'm boosting the photography businesses to try and see what I can get over the next couple of months, to see whether it's in the north of England, see whether the opportunities are still there to make enough money to survive without having to have a day job. So the last year's been utterly crap for me, really, to be honest, on a professional stroke photography point of view. Although I've been some nice places and got some nice pictures, I've done that a lot of the time, not feeling great. So the last year, not the last year is in 2026, the last year, 2025, 26, kind of August to now has been a bit shit. But then something happened recently, which kind of brought it home to me that you are allowed to have bad days, you're allowed to have good days, you're allowed to have indifferent days. You don't always have to have a terminal diagnosis to feel crap. You don't have to always have suffered a death to feel crap. You're allowed to have bad days. But in that context, something happened recently, which I'm going to talk about at the end, which made me realise that even though I've not had a great year and I've felt a bit shit and not felt great and don't feel like I'm operating my best, I've still got opportunity. There are still opportunities out there to create, to kick back, to think, to dream, to have ambition. And so that's what I've decided to kind of try and do moving forward, not get hooked up in the now, think more about what's possible, what I can do, what I do have opportunities to do, and also to use the skills that I've acquired over 54 years in photography, in business, in communication, to go out and do stuff exciting. So, coincidentally with all this, I've had a real good opportunity fall on my lap. Now, I don't know if it's happen chance, whether it's serendipity, do the Americans call that, where you just happen to be the right place, right time. But some of it comes back to me working with people donkey years ago and then remembering me and coming to me because I'm approachable, I'm amiable, I'm good at what I do. So I've had a rather daunting but unreal opportunity land on my lap, which I started work on around Easter, but shot the first bit of it last weekend. And it's a moving image, it's a documentary. But I'm so excited about that. I'm so excited about it that I'm finding it difficult to kind of go from day to day without doing something in it. Even though a lot of it depends on me working with other people. Some of it I can do myself, so I'm kind of itching and thinking and always kind of poking at it, because for the first time in a long time, when you're doing a project for other people, quite often you just get, I want this is how I want it, there's the money, but this is a different thing altogether, and this has to be thought about right, it has to be executed correctly, and it's a semi-long-term project, maybe 2 or 3 months of grunt work before it's ready. But it's allowed me to really almost relax into it and think about all the skills and experience I've got and hone that into this project to make it not just another documentary, not just another same thing, because the content is quite difficult and you have to not only present it in the right way, it has to be presented in a way as the story nails people's attachment to it, which is not always that difficult, but I think in this case it is, because tone is everything, as you know, in filmmaking. And if I get the tone wrong, the whole thing's done. So I'm so excited about that, but I'm like I was when I was 10-year-old, you know, we're going to the seaside on Saturday, yeah, but where we're going the week after, a bit like that. So I've tried to turn the negatives from the last year into positives, and whether this just happens, you know, it's like sometimes you've got to be in the right place, right time. Maybe there's a bit of that. Maybe it is just, you know, people remembering me from years back and going, he's the guy for it. Whatever it is, I'm thankful for it. It's a project I wish I didn't have to do. I wish it didn't have to be made, but it is going to be made. I'm glad I was asked to do it. So I have that. So I've gone back to making moving images, which is when you've not done it for a few years. I mean, I've taught it a lot over the years, but I haven't actually made a documentary or a short film or even a music video for a long time, until recently when I made one for the Kellos. And it's a different space to be in. Mentally, you're in a different space. Not just because the images are moving, but the storytelling is different, because you're not relying on one image or a set of 10 images. You've got 3, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 hours, whatever it is, to tell the story across, to get the narrative in. So you're having to think about that in advance. Outside of that, apart from shooting for the podcast over the last couple of years, I've not done a lot of video work. So I'm going back to square one, getting the old brain matter going on, shooting video. Frame rates, colour spaces, LUTs, you name it. I'm having to kind of refigure all that out to see if I can still do what I could do. And so far, I made a few mistakes, don't get me wrong, but so far, I'm kind of beginning to enjoy what filmmaking is, because for a long time I'd put filmmaking on the back burner because of my ism, and I like things to do now. I like it, let's do it now. Filmmaking is not always like that. Sometimes you have to do it over time, and I got into a place where I just wanted to shoot stills because they were quick. I could get the buzz now, quick, boom, boom, done. Filmmaking takes time. Maybe it's because I've matured, maybe it's because I'm just back in the zone, I don't know, but my filmmaking hat is well and truly back on, and it feels different to be in that space. And like I said, I'm kind of a lot more relaxed about it than I was last time I made films. So, and even, picking up editing and learning how to re-edit. I shot a corporate film recently for a company called Eticloud, one of my newer corporate clients, which I run through Burkitt Studio, which is all about corporate photography, really, retainer photography, where you have long-term relationships with clients. And I shot them a little corporate video, 2 little corporate videos actually. And even just doing that, going back into editing and pace and music and visuals and words and text, it's like a reinvigoration of my creativeness started coming through. And I enjoyed them a lot more than I thought I would. So it feels currently like I'm not just a photographer who does a bit of filmmaking. I feel like currently like I'm a photographer, director, videographer, cinematographer that's doing a bit of everything, and I'm quite enjoying it. But that's all come at a time when I've decided to quit the day job and either look for another day job, which gives me a little bit more happiness, contentment, peace, and less headache, or push myself to find enough freelance work to just go back to being a freelancer, which I did for years. So I'm kind of stuck currently. I've got a few months' grace, that's all. Then I'm going to be back in the rat race, or I'll have turned around the freelance stuff. Part of me is hoping that the documentary I'm making could be a catalyst to that. But again, that's a few months off being complete and being issued, if you like. So, and like everybody says in this game, you're only as good as your last image, aren't you? Or you're only as good as your last thing, your last song, your last part you played, whatever it is. In the creative industries, you're only as good as that last thing. So there's a lot riding on it. But the serendipity, the all coming together, the leaving the job, all that stuff happened just before the thing I'll talk about then happened. And that thing made me realise that outside of all that bullshit, outside of all that making money, having a living, going on holiday, buying the next bit of kit, charging £1,000 for this, outside of that, photography, film, graphic design, acting, directing, screenwriting, painting, all of those things, music, making music, all of those things can take people to a place of safety, to a place where they might have got stressed, they might be in relationship shit, they might have lost the job, they might have, might be ill, the health might not be great. But for me, picking up a camera, walking down a country lane, I used to spend a hell of a lot of time in our back garden, literally just photographing the skies, moody skies, trees, stars, things running about, what lights on coming down the street. Not to do anything, not to sell them, for therapy. And I think people often forget what creative output can give you in terms of therapy. And I enjoy making pictures and now again moving images for people. I enjoy getting a brief, doing a good job, getting paid, having a shake of the hand, and people patting me back saying, "Great, Lance, that's brilliant, well done." I like that buzz, don't get me wrong. But the biggest buzz I get, and the biggest buzz I've always got, is from wandering out with the camera with no financial pressure to make a picture, no client to please, no request for a little tweaky edit here because not quite that colour blue that they actually got you to shoot in the first place. You're just picking moments, sometimes hoping for the best, sometimes knowing you're going to be the best, and using that to gravitate away from all the materialist bullshit that's thrown at us every day, every single day. There's a pressure for something, isn't there? pressure to conform, pressure to do as you're told, pressure to turn up on time, pressure to stay to the speed limit, pressure to whatever it is. But for me, and the reminder I recently was, don't just use the camera and the skills and knowledge you've got to survive that. Use them also to escape that. And actually, I was on holiday for a change. Me and Kirsty decided to go back to Malta in spring bank half term. We had 6 days in Malta, and it was beautiful. It was way too hot. We went last year in February. It was nice and cool, 20 degrees, beautiful. This time it was 33, 4. Too hot for this cookie. And so we didn't excurse as much as we were going to do, but we still did see lots of things. And I quite selfishly saw a lot of ancient things I wanted to see. But Kirsty's great at letting me escape. Now, we're on holiday, of course. We're doing things together. We had a great time together, like we always do. We spend probably most of the week laughing and being stupid like children, which is great. Part of my release when I'm on holiday is to take my camera and take pictures. Now, you know, because if you follow the podcast or if you see my website or anything, you'll see I like street photography. It's quickly becoming one of my favourite genres, if not my favourite, after doing portraits. But I'm not doing it for anybody. I'm not doing it to try and impress myself, trying to impress Kirsty. I'm not doing it so I can come back and do a podcast about it. I'm doing it so I can have a buzz from being in a different country, seeing different things, people, cars, trees, places, streets, having a record of it. Not always sure if I got the shot because I'm often shooting from the hip or from the wheelchair as I was last time. Getting back and viewing it and thinking, yeah, I nailed that. And even though it might be a little bit out of focus, or a little bit over or underexposed, or it might be not quite the shot I envisioned, it's still a good fucking shot. And for me, part of the holiday, taking the camera, is a release on top of the holiday, if that makes sense. And I'm lucky that I have that. Or am I lucky? I mean, it's in me. It used to be music. I used to not be able to go anywhere without taking my guitar. I go on holiday. Guitar would have to come with me. It's a similar thing, but I think I'm lucky that I can do photography and I can get, I think, an extra detachment from reality on top of the holiday by taking pictures of the places and spaces we go to. And in particular on this holiday, because there were some ancient sites and some stuff in particular I wanted to see from the inquisitive side of me. Those that know me at all know that I don't take what Sky News tells you at all. I like to find my own truths. I read lots of books, I watch lots of podcasts, I listen to lots of opinions. Wherever anything has the word theory attached to it, I take it with a pinch of salt, because many things that you all believe are true are actually still theories, not proven. And our history, our recent, not so long ago, and ancient history is all bunk, as far as I can see. So I like going to places to see and figure things out for myself, have my own opinion, see if I think people are right, wrong, or indifferent. And Malta is littered with ancient stuff. So to be able to go and see that and think about those things while me and Kirsty are driving down a back lane that's that wide, in a car that's that wide, trying to not crash, trying to get there safely, and coming up against buses and things coming the other way and laughing our heads off about the state of the roads or whatever it is, getting to a place and then having to walk down planks across fields for 3/4 of a mile, that's the only way you can get to it. And Kirsty just goes with it, goes with me, takes me, and doesn't give me any hassle, and enjoys itself a little bit, but not like I do. I'm extremely lucky. So to get to experience that on top of the holiday for me is a massive release. And I think if I hadn't found photography, quick recap backstory, after I blew my ears out in 1996, my left ear went pop and I can only hear about 50% and it hurts when I play music. That's why I stopped. And then I soldiered on for a couple of years but couldn't do it. So in the end, I was in the wilderness for a couple of years, got into photography quite by accident, and instantly knew it was the thing. It was the thing I'd been missing since I'd stopped music. And I've been obsessed with it ever since, and more obsessed. And I hadn't realised how much escapism there is out there if you just move outside of your own space. And what I mean by that is you don't have to go to Malta or Rhodes or New York City or Chicago or Iceland or any of the places we've been in the last couple of years. You can do it in your own back garden. Just get out the space, get out in front of the TV, go in the kitchen, look upstairs, go out in the garden, look on the front street, watch your neighbours coming in and out. There are so many stories out there which you can use your camera to get a release from the stresses of day-to-day life. And I'm as guilty as the next one of coming in, sitting down and giving it all just because I think it's a release. But really, it's still tying you into that. You ain't got a choice. You've got to get up in the morning and go and pay your bills again. Whereas if you pick a camera up, even if it's just for 10 minutes. I mean, I used to go out and stand in our back garden in my pyjamas and a dressing gown with a pair of trainers on, scarf around my neck, hat on, freezing, fucking cold, pointing my camera up at the stars on a tripod. My eyes aren't great, varifocal glasses, trying to see if it's in focus, trying to judge the infinity marker on the lens, which is never right. So I was just a bit short of infinity, if you notice. Taking pictures, relaxing, coming back in, having a look at them, they're out of focus. But I don't care, because for half an hour, whatever it was, I've managed to block out what the fuck I've got to get up and do tomorrow. And for me, that's what we should all be doing as photographers, musicians, scriptwriters, screenwriters, poets, whatever. If you're making money from your craft and your love and your hobby and whatever it is, fucking brilliant. More power to you. But I wish more people would use those mediums as a tool to escape the five-sense reality that we've been locked into over years and years of being beaten by people who live on hills. And if we could all, more of us, get to a space where we're able to do that more naturally. Some people do yoga, some people meditate. For me, photography is the best form of meditation. Because while I'm out taking pictures, whether I'm in the street in Rhodes or whether I'm in the back garden, I'm that busy concentrating on what I'm doing with the camera, the thing I'm looking at, that I'm not thinking about fuck all else. Absolutely every fucking thing else goes. I don't care about anything. And it takes me no time to get into that headspace. It takes me no time to forget all that stuff. I don't have to sit in silence for half an hour and get my chi going or whatever it is and have fucking music going. It could be blowing a force 9 gale. I'll just be stood there, me and a camera and a tripod, thinking about what I'm doing. Nothing else comes into my head at that point. And I think if more people can just use their creative thing, whatever it is, to put themselves there, then you would all be happier, you'll be better, and we might all start to realise that actually that 5 sense lock-in is bullshit. It's just a fantasy that's been forced on us by various people who had money, power and emulance over the years. And there's really no rhyme or reason why it has to be that, other than conformity. And I think we need to unconform to be happy. Happy with a H. Happy, not happy. And I'm going to show you some of my work from Malta next, some of my street photography, and then I'm going to tell you the story as to what happened to me whilst I was away. But I want you to just think about that for this next section. Are you using your photography, filmmaking, or whatever medium it is to escape the pressures of having to do that? So, Kirsty and I went back to Malta in the spring bank half term, which is a couple of weeks ago. Feels like we've been back 6 months already. And as you guys know, I've done some street photography. I'm not going to harp on about the street photography too long. I'm going to harp on about what I did with the edits when I got to the edit, because what I noticed about Malta in the summer is it feels extremely red. And what I mean by that is when you look around the landscape, the beaches, the towns, the buildings, and then the foliage, the grass, and, you know, the kind of like quite barren areas there are. It's so warm and dry. Everything feels like it's got a tint of red to it. And what that reminded me of was the 1970s. Because when you look back at pictures from the 70s, particularly Polaroid and the Fuji red films, everything feels really colourful, like oversaturated red, but not so it's breaking down, not so it's like been put in Photoshop and saturated. Just the tone of those colour space films that they used at that time was very red. So when I was shooting, like I always do, I'm trying to, you know, colour balance for the right thing I'm looking at. So predominantly, mostly here I'm on daylight because I'm outside shooting in daylight. But Canon colour space, like most camera colour spaces, is crap. It's very rarely that close that it's like, oh yeah, I'm close. This is brilliant. More often than not, it's meh. It's like a mid. Yeah, you can tell it was a sunny day, but it's not very. It's just a bit bleh. So, what to do? So, what I did was I edited them like I would normally do. I edited them like I would normally do, and I did a set in blue and red, and I'll talk you through why I did that in a minute. But my actual edits, the actual edits, are like so. So you can see this is a picture from a street in a lovely town. Was actually the original city for Malta, called Medina, M-D-I-N-A, and we've been there before. And last time we only went for a couple of days, so we had to kind of fly around like, you know, like a blue-house fly. But this time we spent the whole afternoon in Medina and Rabat, which is next to it. Absolutely fucking gorgeous place. Brilliant people, lovely, welcoming, so warm, so, you know, delighted that they're getting all these tourists coming in, spending money in their towns. But look at that, it's just stunning. And that's a, you know, naturally lit shot. That's just as it was, straight off the card, if you like. The only thing I've done there is I've just adjusted the highlights and shadows a little bit just to show you what I saw, because that's pretty much what I saw as I was walking up there. And there's thousands of streets like this across Medina and Rabat, like that, like every other street you see in these towns is like this. But when I got back and I was reviewing them, I was looking at them and I was thinking, I'm sure they were warmer. I'm sure it was warmer than that. I'm sure it felt warm. And obviously it's a sunny day, it feels warm. Nice orangey red brick, blue sky, highlights with the, you know, with the lights flashing on the floor. But it doesn't feel like it felt when I was there. It doesn't feel like, oh, that was really... And I don't mean warm as in temperature warm. I mean warm as in visually warm. It doesn't feel as visually warm as it did when we were there. And this whole little set of pictures here, just walking around Medina. I mean, it's close-ish to the kind of warmth it looked, but it doesn't feel like it's quite there. And I'm convinced it's because digital sensors are all right. They'll get you somewhere close, but they're not really. And maybe it's just growing up on everything in the summer looked like warm. Maybe it's my visual memory of that stops me accepting how pants digital cameras are. And it's not just the Canon, Nikon's the same. My Sony's even worse, I think. My Sony mirrorless. And I guess they're just not there yet, are they? I mean, they'll tell us they're there. You know, they can print up to the size of the fucking street, but when you look at a film shot, I mean, the grain is different on film. We talked about that in another episode, how the grain feels different. The colour feels different too. And what I wanted to do when I blasted through these was I just thought, they're nice pictures. I like them all. That's why I edited them. These are the ones I selected. I like the pictures. There's nothing wrong with the pictures. It is just that they're not quite as warm as what it felt. And again, I don't mean temperature warm, I mean colour warm. And yes, there's some like digital camera, memory card, sensor, into it, edit, colour space. There's all that screen. If you see this screen and this screen are slightly different colour temperatures. But you can tell when you look at the histogram, there's some warmth missing. So I thought about, what can I do? What can I do to have that warmth there? Because I'll show you in a sec. Your natural instinct is to go into Photoshop. Let's see. Let's drag this one into Photoshop. Your natural instinct is to go, well, there's loads of red and yellow in there. That must be the colour. And blue's the sky. But if you're just not happy, if it's not like warm enough, just add some red in or add some saturation. So if we go to hue and saturation and just go, all right, let's just have some saturation in there. Was it that warm? No. That's on fire. It wasn't on fire. It's a different kind of warmth. It's a different, it's not there. It's not there. Well, where could it be? Is it in there? No, it's you burnt. No, it's just not there. All right, then don't do that. Maybe just try a photo filter. Stick some red on, or even the orange straight out of the crate. Look, all right, blue button. Look at the sky. Oh, it wasn't like that. It wasn't yellow like that. Well, I'll take a bit off. All right, we'll take some off. We'll just put off. No, the sky wasn't purple. Like you're really just struggling. And they're kind of the normal quick techniques to do it. And it's a difficult thing for me to understand. It just isn't warm enough. So I looked around, see what other people have got, see if, I mean, I don't like presets. I think presets are cheating, but I think sometimes, occasionally somebody's mastered a colour space that you can't get to yourself because they've got more time, more energy, more wisdom. And sometimes you can find something, not to fix your picture, but to put your picture where your camera can't put it. So I did some digging around and I found some real nice presets, and I had to go with those. I'd played through 10 or 12, and nothing was really giving me what I wanted. And the first set I found, actually, conversely to trying to make things, to turn things red, I came across this set here, which I'd used the week before for our lads band, the Kellos, because I'd done Kellos a photo shoot, and because Kellos are the swines in the bane of my life, aren't they? Look, and they wanted some 1990s inspired looking. So I found this, trying to find a 90s look, and I spent hours going through various filters and stuff. Couldn't find anything that was 90s. Tried gradients and all sorts of bits and bobs, but eventually I came across a chap who'd done a couple of real nice presets, which, depending on what you'd shot, depending on what your base picture was, you could get that 90s look. And back in the 90s, as you know, cameras were film, more often than onboard flash because of poor lighting, no 50 million ISO then. So a lot of them are shot with flash. So when we did the shoot, we shot, even though we were outside, we shot a lot of them with onboard flash gun, to get that like kind of like washed out skin kind of look. So it did actually work for some of them. And if you look at the ones that I did in Malta, I used the same preset, and which one shall I show you? Let me have a look. That one's actually quite a nice one. Now, these weren't shot with flash, as you know, because I was on holiday and I didn't have a flash gun with me. But you can see the original versus the edit. Like so. You can see them side by side. And although I like the one on the right, using that filter, it wasn't what I saw. But I can imagine shooting on the right type of film back in the day, that could have been a doable shot. And I actually quite like it from a colour space perspective. It gives the shot something different, makes them not, it takes the digital edge off. Some of the, there's a bit of softening in the edges and the highlights, adding a little bit of blur into those as you make the conversion. So it kind of softens them a bit, gives them a bit of grain, makes them look a bit film based. But I like the one on the left, but I also like the one on the right. And that told me that if I could get the right filter, I could get the right vibe, because what I wanted is the one on the right, but with that warmth that I'd felt. So I went on a little bit and did a bit more digging and a bit more research, and found actually paid for a couple of presets which I felt would hit the mark. And if we just let's just open that one back up again, so you can see side by side now. So the one on the left is what I wanted. That's kind of more how it felt to me. Now you can see how the sky's a little more blue, and it's got a little hint, maybe, you know, up at the top under the trees, a little hint of purple, but nothing like what it had on the previous shot of the streets, where I whacked loads of saturation on and the sky went completely purple. But those warm walls, that warm skin, those warm shadows are more like what it looked and felt like in Medina than the one on the right, which is what the camera saw set to daylight. Now I could have, because I'm in the shade under the trees, I could have set it to what's the word? I could have set it to shade, but would it have made any difference? And I mean, if we have a look at the raw file, I'm never going to be able to find the raw file, am I? What was the file name? 9877. See if it'll find it this way. 9877. Oh, no, I fucking hate everything. Alright, so that's the thing. So if we look at the original, this one, this guy, and we drop it into PS. PS, I love you. You. There's the Beatles for you. I don't want to fucking learn more about camera. So there's the shot, and that's daylight as I shot it, right? So if we change it to cloudy, it's dog shit, innit? It's nowhere near what that is. So even running through all the different balances here, flash, auto's probably better than any of them there, shade, ooh, really pink now. None of them get close to what I actually saw. So although I am kind of highly skeptical about the overuse of presets, there are times when, obviously, as I've just proven, they can give you what you want. Now, if you got your time, experience, and the know-how to make your own presets, you could do that. But in this occasion, I just didn't have time. As you know, I'm always short of time. So I had a look around, found a couple of good guys who did good quality presets, and used them for this. Now, the caveat to that is I won't apply that preset to the next lot of my work. Got a family shoot coming up next, and I won't be doing that. I'll be shooting in camera, as was. Maybe a little bit of custom white balance afterwards, but that'll be it, because I don't want to make them look like that. I want them on a white or a grey backdrop, nice and clean, how it would be. But I just find that digital cameras, when you're out in the wild, don't always really capture what you're seeing. And, you know, it's easy for me to explain what I saw, but for you guys, it's more about what you saw, isn't it? And again, these are the pictures that I selected to add this preset to, because these are the ones that I felt really made me feel like I was in the 1970s when I was there. I mean, this is Malta. Obviously, you can tell it's not Skegness, but it has that same kind of holiday seaside feel to it, I felt. And I just felt once I'd put this filter on, if we look at the unfiltered one, blue, I won't keep singing at you guys, I'm sorry. You'll be able to see, hopefully, what I was trying to get at. And that was kind of, as I was shooting, I was thinking that now I know from experience I don't need to be changing my settings as I'm shooting. Just shooting in RAW, shoot to the scene, think about it later. And I had kind of hoped that Photoshop might be able to help me out, you know, just by using stuff like that, but I couldn't get anywhere near. And so this preset, I'm not going to tell you what it was, because I'm not going to tell you what the preset was, what the actual settings were, because this is a guy's livelihood and I bought it from him and you should too. but if I remember, I'll put a link in at the end of the video where I got it from. But you can see, if we look at both of these pictures, if we look at the next one, the guy sat under the boat, just spotted him as we were on the way to the loo. But again, the picture on the left just didn't cut what I saw. Just didn't cut what I was seeing. And none of this set did. They were all too clean, too nice, too simple. And I hope you can agree that just adding that warmth, ultra warmth into there, gives it something a little different, changes the narrative a little bit, makes it look like you were somewhere really warm rather than just somewhere really sunny. And that was the kind of feeling, if you like, I was going for. And this one particularly, this guy here, I think he'd been on the shandy and he was shouting at this guy about, he used to see him in the morning unloading and giving stuff, and this local guy was like, yeah, he's clearly on day release. But it made a beautiful picture. And you know, on the island of Camino, which is the smallest island out of the three, came across this tractor at the top of the hill, and the left picture is what the camera saw, the right picture is what I saw, and that's how it felt to me. And I just love that gritty warmth, depth and oversaturated colour on the right, which the Canon camera and the more regular edit spaces I use on Adobe Photoshop couldn't get me to without some major tweaking. So I'm kind of glad I took some time to discover the filters, because it helped me get the pictures to where I felt they needed to be. And you probably might not even get the actual colour on your screen, but you'll be able to see a difference. And what I'm trying to get to is don't get hung up on the camera you've got when it's giving you what you think you need. Try to get into a space where what you see is what you get in the end. Now 9, maybe 8 times out of 10, camera will do that for me. If you're in a studio, you're shooting clean, you'll get that. If you want to filter it for any other reason, client reason, whatever, after that, fine. I just find that all cameras, whether you're shooting JPEG, RAW, sRGB, Adobe RGB, neutral, contrasty, whatever you're doing, you never get the colour you're seeing. And for me, particularly this time, because it felt so warm, it just felt different. Whether it was or not, I don't know. Maybe it was just my mood. But the left-hand side picture didn't replicate my mood. The right one was closer to what I felt I was seeing. I saw Kirsty's actually said that as well when I showed them. She said the picture on the left's nice, but it feels a bit it feels like the summer in England, not the summer in Malta. And I think that was the difference. So, you know, we're having a great time. We're going around Malta, and I went to some of my favourite places, which I've not added to this edit. That one there I actually quite liked. That were a couple outside of Barney where we stayed that were just... It's not on that one for some reason. That were just... Oh, it's there. That were just having a heated argument. I just took a little shot from the hip just to capture that. But again, I think you'll agree the one on the right looks a bit more intense, if that's the right word. So I absolutely loved it. Now, part of what the holiday was all about was me getting to see my favourite spots, and achieving that felt great. And unless you might want to switch off now, don't, if you're not into ancient history and stuff, but I could show you some pictures about the ancient stuff that I saw, but also there's a real poignant end to this, and I wish I didn't have to say what I'm going to say at the end, but I have to, because it means a lot to me, and I would appreciate if you'd stick around just to hear that bit. I'll only be 5 minutes. We always do an itinerary before we go on holiday, places we want to see and go. And Kirsty's itinerary is always a bit more normal than mine, if you like. Mine's always got some ancient ruin or something bizarre when I go and see. And on this occasion, it came off the back of a TV series called Ancient Apocalypse, by a fabulous researcher called by a fabulous researcher called Graham Hancock, and some of his books up there, I'm sure. Fingerprints of the Gods and one thing and another. So you can get on Netflix anyway. Ancient Apocalypse. And in this, he's in Malta and various places. Now, last year I went to see Gigantea, which is a big ancient monument. Didn't go this year because I want to see some new stuff. So this year, he talks on episode 3 of series 1 in that about something called cart ruts, which are basically big, what look like tram lines ground into the bedrock all over Malta and various other places across Europe. And I'd seen them in his series and thought, I'll have to go and see them when I go back. Now, I'd said to Kirsty, I want to go and see these cart ruts, and she was a bit like, exciting. But the thing is, these cart ruts go back to a time before the wheel was invented. And although your mainstream archaeologists who are paid to say this stuff, because if they don't, they'll lose their funding, will say, oh, it was made by carts. You ever see a wooden wheel or a stone wheel cut stone like what I'm going to show you? You're I don't know. What are you? Well, I just don't even have a word for it. These things are kind of like cut into the ground, some of them quite deep. Some of them look like they've been moulded, like melted. They're that smooth and that kind of nice. They're not like that phone has sharp edges like that. These ruts are more like curves like that, like soft, like they've been melted. And I don't know what they are. I don't know where they're from, who did it, how or why. They're just there, and they kind of like, they're all over the landscape in Malta, and I wanted to go and see them. So the first one I went to see was not much of one left. It was a bit of one at like a top of a hill, and we walked up 30 or 40 feet, and it was hardly a scratch in the ground. So Kirsty at that point was a bit like, are they all going to be like this? So I said, no, this is like, the people who built and chipped away, there's much more better ones than this. A few days later, we're on the way to Valletta. Was it Valletta for the day? Somewhere for the day. Maybe it was St. Julian's. And I said, there's another one on the way. Can we go to that? So, yeah, sure. So we parked there. And I'll put on screen what it was. I can't remember off the top of my head what it was called. And there were some catacombs there as well. But you could only get to them by going through what can only be described as a jungle behind a block of flats. So Kirsty took one look at it and went, you're on your own, mate. So I disappeared off into this jungle. And I'm sure she went and sat in the car with the aircon on. I'm sure she was thinking, I'm never going to see him again, he's gone. But luckily for me, what happened was I came across the cart ruts, and they were what can only be described as fascinating, and here's one. So looking at that, it looks like a big trench, but obviously I'm close up at it, but that's actually, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 inches across, 8 or 10 inches deep. But if you look at it close up, you can see how it's not wooden wheel shaped. It's got corners, which are, again, they've been weathered over the years, but look quite smooth. And that's the same cart looking up, and you can see how big it is from that. Gives you a bit better perspective. And there were loads dotted around on this piece of landscape, so I'm glad I went to it. But the general consensus is they were just left by carts or something. But contextually, that's me. Contextually, these are from before the wheel. Potentially maybe 5, 10, 15, 20,000 years before that. Who knows? And for me to get to see them, so many of them, was quite exciting. I mean, exciting is probably not even the real word. So while I was there, I sent a picture of my phone to Kirsty and kind of like, She was like, oh my God, that's great. I can't believe you found them. So when we went to see the next ones, which run into the sea, she was a bit more optimistic about, and she was actually quite excited about these and took some pictures herself. So these again are in another small town on the coast. I think this actually might be St. Julian's Bay. And you can see here, these run into the sea, and they kind of went in, but they've been eroded over the years. So where they go back to how far and how they originally went in, who knows? But again, serious cart tracks with the same kind of shape, and beveled edges, not square edges, run into the sea. And apparently off the coast of Malta you can see these right into the sea, where the sea's risen like 300 or 400 feet over a millennium. And there's lots of stuff. I know Graham Hancock again has scuba dived off the coast and seen all sorts of other stuff under the water. But again, modern life, eh? When they made those tracks however many thousands of years ago, I bet they never thought they'd see the day they'd be full of shit and fag ends and stuff left by modern men and women. Quite awful, actually, innit? But that's the world we live in. So that was the next set. And then the final set we saw were literally up on the middle of nowhere. We had to walk about 20 minutes to get to this. But again, this landscape is called Clapham Junction. You can search it in Malta, look at Clapham Junction. You can see it's like where lots of them kind of interweave. Looks like Clapham Junction. And there you can see them heading out to sea or back in from sea, whichever way you want to look at it. And it was just fascinating for me to finally get to see them and to see them up close and realise that actually they're not just ruts that have been run into the ground. There's actually construction going on here. Because a cartwheel, a wooden cartwheel or a stone wheel wouldn't make that groove, wouldn't make that lovely groove. It almost looks more like they carried water or liquid or cables or something rather than machinery. No, I don't know. That's for other people to investigate. People who aren't scared, people who aren't locked into academia, people who aren't locked into finance, and you must say this otherwise we'll drop your grant. People who can operate outside of that are more likely to find the truth than gatekeepers. So I hope, good luck to Graham. He's having an operation on his heart this week. Good luck, Graham. I hope you come out of that fine and you continue to get older. One of Graham's phrases is, shit keeps getting older. Let's hope Graham does. Let's hope he can go back and find out some more about this. Because it's fascinating. And I think our history, people are so, it's history, what's it matter? Well, it matters because this is how we got here now. And if we don't know how we got here now, how can we ever know anything moving forward? History is key to us. So that's Clapham Junction on the top of a hill in Malta. And it was fascinating to see. Just fascinating to see. And that led us then on to the next day. We went down to this place, which I'm rubbish with names, I'll put it on screen. A couple of archaeological sites. And this is the one where we had to walk down planks because they're building their own, but it's like miles down these planks to get to it. But having seen it and seeing Gigantea last time I was there, to me, when you look at that rock, which is the entrance to this place, looks like one of those Maori heads from, from East Island. I'll put one on screen next to this, see what you think. I couldn't look at that without thinking that looks like the same head. Now, it could just be a stone that's been chipped away, I know, but when you see them together, you'll see what I was saying. And that was kind of like almost near the end. Lots of other stuff there, but I'm not going to go into that now. So we had a great week. We had a great week. But unfortunately we flew out there on the Sunday. And on the Monday, late Sunday night, early Monday morning, in Sheffield, just up the road from where we're from, there was a young girl shot and killed outside a nightclub. And a day or so after that, Kirsty had seen it on social media and said to me, "Oh, have you seen this? It's awful." And I just glanced at it and I said, "Oh, God, Sheffield, what? You know, it's not the first kind of death like that in Sheffield recently. I'm sure it's just horrible." And then the next day we'd been for a drink and we'd come back and I was just relaxing in the hotel before bed, and I was flicking through social media. And the article came up from I think it was probably from the Sheffield Star, that said, young mum, Shanice Brookes, shot and killed outside a bar in Sheffield. And I thought, Shanice Brookes, there can't be that many people in Sheffield called Shanice Brookes. So I dug a bit deeper and looked a bit deeper. And indeed it did turn out that it was Shanice who was one of my students. And it knocked me sideways, completely knocked me sideways. And in that moment, all I could think about was a young son, and a family, and my anger at what should be a thriving, forward-looking, massive future ahead of a young girl's gone like that. And I'm not going to say much more about the people behind it, because that's not for this forum. But what I wanted to do was just pay tribute to Shanice. And I taught her in her first year of her BA honours, and she's just finished. She had just finished. She's about to exhibit her work in a day now. But I was in charge of her course still, but I hadn't taught her for a couple of years, but I used to see her periodically and talk about her, and she was fabulous. And the volume of work she had created for herself outside of the course, just through the sheer desire to want to be a photographer and a content creator. The charity work she was doing, the volunteering work, the actual paid work, standing to her ground, making sure she got paid correctly, learning off her teachers. And I'm so proud that I was one of her photography teachers. I was so proud that I got to influence her, even if just a little bit. It's just devastating to catch up with the team and see what she had done, what she'd achieved, and what she was going to be going on to do with her honours degree. And I just wanted, in this podcast today, to pay tribute to Shanice and just say, even now, weeks on, it's unimaginable. It's just unimaginable that you're gone. And I will look forward to showing your work in a week or so's time to your parents and your family, and they'll see what a fantastic practitioner you become, and they will be so proud of what you've achieved. And yeah, so I just want to say that.